What do you think of these red pill dating podcasts?
That for me is the missing part of the red pill.
But women do, they fall for it.
They want to meet women genuinely and honestly. The dating apps aren't working.
I've never seen it in anyone before.
And I think the other thing as well, from a man's point of view, is there's a lot of interest in the top 10% and also what makes an alpha male. And
if a man wants to tell me that, everything I get, I deserve, and I'm talking about assault here.
There's a lot of people framing men and women as the enemy. And it's simply not the case.
How? Because her message is exceptionally harmful, not just to women, but also to men.
With the modern world revolving around technology, society is losing touch with reality. But one area in particular is being met with more controversy and having a long-term damaging effect: dating. On today's episode, we will be talking with David Thorp, a dating coach, author, and YouTuber. David's channel talks about modern-day dating challenges, giving tips to men on how to approach women, and coaching them on dating through honesty.
Guys, we just hit 1,000 subscribers. Yay! Thank you so much to absolutely everybody who has subscribed to this channel and liked the episodes, left comments. Some have been nice, some not so nice. But like I say, you can say whatever you want. I'm already traumatized. Thank you so much for everything, guys. The more you like, the more you subscribe, the more I can actually do this channel and the more episodes I can make for you as well. I really want the channel to take off so that I can help all of you with certain things within your life. So to keep this going, please like, please subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Like I say whatever you want. I'm already traumatized. All right, guys, let's get back into this. So David, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
That's okay. Thank you for having me.
So let me just ask a couple of questions. Now, I've a few things, we talked last week and just getting to have a bit of an idea of, what it is that you actually do. So maybe just tell everyone what it is that you've been doing here in Australia.
Sure. So I'm a dating coach for men. So I teach men how to approach, how to text, date, and have a long-term relationship with their dream woman. So I've been doing that under my own steam for about 18 months now. And then previously I was working with other dating firms under their brand. Just decided to do my own thing based on my own messaging and my principles and what I believe in as well. So that's me. Based in Sydney, been here coming up for 6 years. I'm getting married in a few weeks, which is great. Everything's going well.
I'm so happy for you because, getting married very soon. I wanted to ask, how did you get into this line of work?
Yeah, it's a good question, actually. I mean, it started when my dating life was really crap, over 10 years ago now. And I mean, back then, I was 25, I was, very alone, very single. And I assumed that as you got older, that confidence would just come. And it didn't, and I always aspired to have a nice relationship, and it just wasn't coming. And then after university and going to London as a grad and doing the typical thing of living there for in party houses in Clapham, I'd get maybe 1 or 2 phone numbers a year from really expensive dating apps that just weren't cutting it. But I was actually very unhappy with myself in that dating space as well. So I somehow managed to match with someone on an app, this very attractive Russian lady, and then we actually started a little relationship, but I was extremely insecure in that relationship, and so I was very needy. I felt as though I was about to be replaced at any moment because I felt she was way out of my league, and it was actually more stressful for me to be in a relationship than the other way around. And I think it's because it had been so long being single that when I did get what I wanted, the fear of losing her and that and returning to a life of destitution from a dating point of view was really scary for me. And the relationship only lasted about 4 months. She actually came out and admitted that she had cheated on me. And I was obviously upset at the moment, but I was kind of relieved that it was over. And in one of my previous videos that I did about this episode, I wasn't angry at her at all. it was just one of those things, and I was more concerned about myself, feeling that I needed to improve and get better, which I did. And so around this time in summer 2013, I saw dating coaches, some of which you could approach, and I took an interest in that and then signed up for an approaching course for a weekend. Back then there was a lot of dating coaches teaching that, now there isn't. And then I did many hours on the Saturday and Sunday with these guys, just teaching me how to have conversations with women. And that weekend I got like 8 phone numbers, which just completely blew my mind. So I remember my instructor saying to me, "You've got everything there in terms of yourself and personality, you just need a bit of a push," and shown the way. So from there, I then just kind of, was freed, quite frankly. I still had a lot to learn and a lot to develop. And then in the years ahead, like, I had a very good single life, but I was also introduced with new problems in that I was using lines and a system that my instructors had taught me, which I was becoming quite uncomfortable with, because I felt as though my personality was a bit removed from that. And so I dropped these lines and systems and just thought, well, actually I can approach. That's the only difference I've really made. How about I don't use these canned lines in conversations and actually just introduce me into the interactions? And that's what I did. And after that, I felt a lot more free. It was a lot more real and genuine. Had some relationships after that, which was good. And then I came to Sydney. And then, I think about 18 months into here, I saw my fiancée on my lunch break. I was heading back to the office, and then I just thought, actually, I should probably do something here. I almost didn't, because I was actually late. And the CEO was sat across the desk in my previous life working in engineering. And I just decided to go for it. And I ran down the street, approached her, we had a chat. The conversation wasn't very remarkable. I told a joke that she didn't get. I made an assumption about her work, saying, "You look like a consultant," because she was dressed in all black, very corporate, and that was correct. So we had a chat about that and just chatted about where we lived in Sydney and things, and then just said, "Look, another time, let's go for a drink." And she was like, "Yeah, definitely." And then and that was like late 2019, and then COVID hit. But we'd already started our relationship by that point, and now we're getting married. So I think it's been 10 years operating in the kind of dating space, first to sort out myself, and now helping out other guys who have the same reasons as me, in that they just want to get better at this space. They want to experience self-improvement. They want to meet women genuinely and honestly. The dating apps aren't working, and just to find someone nice at the end of it. And so some of my former clients, one just had a baby. He got married to a Venezuelan lady in South America. My other client, he met his dream woman in Sydney like me, and now they've gone off to live in Manhattan. So it's definitely possible, despite what social media and society kind of tells us. You can do it the traditional way, like our parents and grandparents did.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that the other day, just researching things for you coming on. And I wanted to actually look into the history of dating and how we got to the dating culture that we're in now. And it's amazing how we've actually come to what we have. Like, technology obviously plays a massive part in that. It's also playing a massive part in how women and men approach each other. I'm seeing that men are definitely becoming more reclusive. Women are becoming more confident, and everything has to do with the dating apps and social media apps.
Yep.
Because women can get a message from a man, very easily into her DMs, whereas a guy has to look a very certain way or have a very certain lifestyle that he brags about for a woman to come in. And of course, whenever a man is bragging about his lifestyle, he's certainly not a good guy to be around.
No, probably would want to stay clear of that.
Yeah, you don't want to get involved, but women do. They fall for it. But I was looking into it, and I was like, well, dating only actually started after World War I. So we haven't actually had a very long space of time to socially understand ourselves within these dynamics, because it started off that, you know, it was within the communities, people would marry within the communities, they'd marry within a church, or they'd marry within the town, and or to the town next to them, because, you know, one farmer knew another farmer, and they had one had a son, one had a daughter, and then they got those ones together and combined farms or whatever it was. So when it ended up developing, then there was courtship, which involved the families. So essentially, arranged marriages were even a thing in Western society. It's something that we only ever put into Eastern society, but it was something that was very much back in the times then too. But then after World War One, more like restaurants were starting to come about, more cafes were starting to come about, cinema was a big thing. And I was actually trying to find if cinema was the reason as to why dating ended up being, okay, we need to take women out of the house, away from the family. And it starts with that one. So, but things have it, if it worked for all those years, now we've actually gone into the dynamics of understanding that we need to do everything Hollywood style, because that's what we've been told to believe.
Yes.
Do you find that with the whole dating culture for what it is, it's become so much more toxic for men, or is it women that are toxic, or men that are toxic? What are you finding is the biggest issue that's happening right now?
I predominantly focus my efforts on the men. I think it's dangerous to start saying those things or making assumptions about women, or saying that they're this and they're that. That is what I get a lot of on YouTube comments, is men just lashing out, and I'm more interested in not doing that and focusing on, you know, like what I did with my own story, you know, focusing on myself, sorting out myself, and then presenting that to the world, and that's what I try and teach with my clients. And you know, all the guys I've taken on don't harbour those attitudes about women, because if they did, I wouldn't take them on. But further to that, you're not going to get anywhere with those kind of attitudes. And I think, you know, yes, there are you know, some toxic women out there, and the same for men as well. But there are many good women out there, many feminine women, many women that whatever you're looking for are out there. And I think if you go with the approach of just presenting the best form of yourself to a variety of women, you will find something that you're looking for. And you know, many years ago, I learned a phrase, you know, behaviour breeds behaviour. And so if you're going you know, out to meet people authentically, genuinely, being clear about what you're looking for, whether that's something short-term or long-term, not exaggerating too much about what you're up to, that's just the best way. I think you can only control yourself and what you're presenting. And I think there's this huge disparity between reality and social media. I take a bit of an interest in crypto and then this metaverse that apparently is coming. I think we already live in the metaverse, I think, and we live in that through our phones. It's a very different world, very not representative of reality. And I think if you get out of that as much as you can and just focus on what's around you, keeping things basic, not engaging in social media too much, because, you know, a lot of the big hitting content is designed to be extreme. It's designed to be eye-catching, to get your attention. And so there's some pretty crazy views out there, and I think if you watch too much of that, it can really twist your mindset. And there's a lot of people framing men and women as the enemy, and it's simply not the case. You know, I've been approaching for 10 years now, and in the later years I'm approaching, you know, purely for my YouTube channel, not really for dating purposes anymore. But one thing that surprised me is that the reaction of women hasn't changed one bit in 10 years, and that to me shows that even though there's all this doom and gloom, and, you know, men saying women are evil or they're all feminists and stuff, it's just not true. Like, between 2013 and now, you know, if you do a good approach and you're honest and you want to meet someone, even if they've got a boyfriend or they're not interested, if you do it right, most women will be polite, they'll like the compliment, thank you, have a nice day, and that's it. That hasn't changed at all. So I think everyone's saying it's too late, it's gone, we're all doomed. I simply disagree, and I think just for men particularly, which is what I'm interested in, focusing on themselves, and if you've got those toxic views, then try and drop them if you can, because it's just not reflective of reality.
It's definitely not. And I did actually say I have a story for you.
Okay.
Because something happened I think it was 3 or 4 days after I spoke to you. I was down on the beach and I was washing off my feet, from being on the beach and everything. And a guy came up to me and asked how I was and wanted my number.
Wow.
And straight away, I was like, is David here? I was like, is he going to pop out from a bush?
Fantastic.
And I was just, if anything, like I'm taken. So, I obviously there's no one else I'm going to look at. But it was just, I was so like blown away by someone would be that nice. And his approach was lovely. It was actually really, really nice. And I actually said to him, do you know, I really appreciate the courage that it actually comes up to talk to anyone, especially in this day and age. And, I really am taking this as a massive compliment. Thank you so much. But I'm taken. I'm sorry. But please do not stop. I said that to him. I said, please don't stop, because we need more men doing this sort of thing. Not to say that, is there a chance he was he was going to keep on pursuing? Sometimes that does happen, especially
It does.
With certain types of men. But it was such a lovely thing to experience. And this is the thing, you see all of these things on social media. It's almost like a deterrent. There are so many videos going viral of girls in gyms, or they're just out shopping and things like that, and they put their phone in the back pocket to try and record how many men are looking at their backside.
Okay.
It's why are you thinking that that's how attractive you are, or like, why do you think that is something that is acceptable? Like, men coming up to you in the gym asking you a question or something like that, why is that such a bad thing? And there's so many women that are like, I'm not a big fan of this whole toxic culture, and if anything, it definitely does need to go. But I feel like I said before, social media has elevated women's confidence in ways that we can't even imagine. This is something whenever, like, men and women, they'll never understand exactly what the other one goes through. So men are constantly getting rejected, with Twitter or Tinder and things like that. They'll go up to a girl in a night out, and maybe she's not a very nice girl, and she just looks them up and down and goes, no, thank you. Sometimes you're going to get those type of people. But women have got so many people coming into their DMs because they'll take a naked selfie of themselves, post it online, and straight away they're getting 100 DMs from men saying, oh, you're so hot, can I take you out? Oh, you're so hot, I want to buy you something. And they've got this deluded self of self, because they're completely in the idea that they can all be OnlyFans girls, which is an exceptionally toxic thing. I was saying to my partner the other day, I was like, do you remember a couple of years ago whenever we were talking about OnlyFans? I'm so glad I never did it. So glad.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that they are using to dumb us down, is the best way to describe it. Because actually one of the first things that I learned in psychology was the effects of what cocaine has on the human brain is the exact same as doom scrolling on your phone.
Okay.
So those parts of your brain will actually start to become deactivated. That's why there are actually new studies coming out saying that our creativity is next to non-existent anymore, because we're constantly on our phones, we're constantly looking at porn, we're constantly on TikTok. We don't have the ability to think anymore.
No, all the time.
So now, whenever you go out on dates with certain people, they've got a preconception of what they want from a man, from the very things that are in the top 1%. And you think that you're going to be finding a top 1% in Australia?
Well, yes. It's so subjective as well. Like, it's starting to annoy me a little bit. Like, on, again, the YouTube comments I get, just people just banding around views that they've read in the media or social media that they don't really understand. That a lot of guys who clearly aren't really getting much attention from women will just say, oh, you've got to be in the top 10%, 90% of men, get overlooked and all of this. And it's just, I don't know, it just, this kind of victimhood just doesn't wash with me because, all right, well, what can you do to get yourself in the top 10%? And just the stats, I mean, they can't back it up with anything proper or statistical. And what I like to write to them is, but what if you're the 89%? What if you're an 89%? If we have 100 men and 10 of them are the 91 to 100, these are the guys that you deem to. What about the guy that's 89 or 88? Like, he's so close to that line that you've just said. Does that mean he gets nothing, like the 1%? Like, it annoys me. I do look. It is hard. It is hard for men and women, and I would say it is definitely probably the hardest time we've ever had, and the sexes are growing apart. But these top percentages, and it's down to people's judgment. What if a woman views a guy as a top 10%er and she's really interested in him, but if you surveyed society, they would say he's not. It's down to individuals' interpretation as well. So and I think the other thing as well from a man's point of view is there's a lot of interest in the top 10% and also what makes an alpha male. And there's one or two books that I read, and the best definition I found was an alpha male is a guy who thinks he is. So he thinks he's an alpha male. That's the definition. It's not he's got X or Y or Z. He thinks he is one, and that makes him one. And there's a very good YouTube video that someone linked, and the guy called Corey Wayne or Corey, I can't remember. And it's this like surfer dude with sunglasses on, and he's had his house destroyed by a house party he instigated, and he's being interviewed. Yeah, and he's getting a real battering by the journalist, and he just is like completely unflinching. And then the journalist can't get a blow on him, so then they start attacking the sunglasses he's wearing, saying, "Oh, you should take those off for the interview." And he's like, "No, I like these sunglasses. They're like really cool." And it was just an example, but this guy like just thought that he was the bee's knees, and that's what makes the view. So I think if and this was also epitomised in I was interviewing men on the street. I was approached by a gay guy, and he approached me, and then I just said, "Oh, we have to get you in front of camera." And this guy, like, physically not very attractive in my opinion. He was pretty large, not that tall, but his attitude was phenomenal. Like, this guy was unstoppable in self-belief. And he said that he had no problems in dating. He was having a great time being a gay man, principally in Sweden and also Australia. And I was just wowed by, he had 100% conviction in himself. And I just thought afterwards, if he was straight and was approaching, and he approaches gay men on the street in the daytime, or tries to at least, I just thought if you had that mentality as a single man, you would do well, because the belief in himself was unbelievable. So I would call him an alpha male, because he was unrivaled in his beliefs. And I just, what makes that top 10%, 1%? How about you define that?
Oh my gosh, like, I've definitely had to do an awful lot of work to understand what a true alpha male really is. And I said this to my partner yesterday. I said, what kind of men are there? And he said, don't forget about the Sigma male. And I said, what's a Sigma male? And he said, look it up. And it was my partner to a T. Very confident, doesn't actually care what other people are, but very introverted, doesn't actually want to be seen in the crowd, but yet for some strange reason, people are just magnetized to him. Like my partner, there's something about him in a way that is so, I've never seen it in anyone before. And he's mine. It's great. I love it. But it's just amazing to see how he is around other men as well. Like, he's a true gentleman, and other men will see that. He's very much a playful character and very, very funny, but he doesn't draw on the fact that men admire him for, the fact that he's very athletic or the fact that he's very business minded. It's the fact that he just has this I don't care attitude, but he's a good person with it. He's a very good person with it. Like, he's very kind and generous and so considerate. So, but he makes fun of everything. He's got a true blue Aussie attitude to humor. And a lot of his humor is not for public, it's for behind closed doors. But it's so nice to have that, to see that with somebody that can actually be very introverted, but it just takes one line from him and he has people crying, like laughing so hard. He actually makes it a game. He makes everything a game. If he sees someone that is really uptight, obnoxious, up themselves or anything like that, he makes it a game to try and get them to laugh.
Good.
And he'll do it with the funniest thing. Like one time he actually was, he wanted to embarrass the hell out of me at a shop once, and I was paying for something, and he just stood by the door and he goes, "Oh, mummy, I have to wee." Coming from a 30-year-old man.
Bit of embarrassment.
But that's the thing. I think because he doesn't take himself so seriously, and yet he's a very serious person whenever it comes to business. He's very hard-hitting when he has to be, but he knows when to rein it in. And I think that's the other thing with a lot of men, is that they don't have the confidence to be as hard-hitting in certain areas where it really needs to be applied, and then learn that that does not have to exist in every single part of your life.
No, true.
Because if we're going to constantly live within a world that is so demanding, especially whenever it comes to finance, because right now, like, there's a cost of living crisis right around the world. So being like the bull and being aggressive to try and make as much as you possibly can for survival is the only way that, you know, a lot of men can actually do that, and they have to step up to the mark. But just remember, you have another part of your life, and that part should not be completely consumed by one aspect of who you are. We are many different people throughout the day. Like, I'm a completely different person to what I am in university, what I am at the gym, and what I am at home. So I'm all those people change, especially whenever I'm at the gym. Don't come near me.
Yeah, quite closed off. Yeah, it's the same for me in the gym, actually. Yeah.
I think you can always tell the difference as well, like people who are very much true to their form within certain environments. Like whenever I'm at university, I am an absolute bull, like, because I'm seeing how bad the education system is, and how bad the, like, psychology especially is definitely going to be under attack. Funny enough, actually, something popped up this morning in the Advertiser saying that one of the hardest courses to get into is psychology. And I have no idea if it's that hard how I got in and how a whole bunch of other people got in.
Okay.
If it's that difficult. Because the type of people that you see in these courses, it's terrifying. It's truly terrifying. But, you know, we'll see what ends up happening in the next 10 years, really.
Yeah, your graduation.
10 years till graduation?
Hopefully not.
I do want to ask you a question on one particular aspect that's, I think, is changing the minds of an awful lot of men at the moment. What do you think of these red pill dating podcasts? Oh dear.
Yeah, what do I think of them? Well, funnily enough, the red pill movement is where I, like the approaching course that I did, it was kind of based out of that ideology. I didn't know it at the time, but it was, and I think, look, the red pill movement, you can largely attribute it to Rollo Tomassi and his book in there, and The Rational Male. I think that it is a good book. I think there's a lot of good things in there for men, for self-improvement. There are some pretty crazy ideas in there as well, and the bit that I didn't really like over time, and only really kind of unplugged myself from the red pill in the last few years, was just the element of long-term relationships are a bad thing, that being with, you know, a woman in a monogamous state is a bad thing, and it's just better to, you know, be single, keep yourself free, enjoy women on a short-term basis, because that's all they're good for. Those kind of views there and the insinuation of that I didn't really like or agree with, and so I'm assuming the Red Pill podcasts that you're referring to are championing these beliefs.
Some of them are, some of them, not all of them.
No.
I would say it depends. It depends on the people that are actually on it. But the thing is, as well, for these kind of men, they will get to a point where they will become very, very sick, and like not just like sick physically, but also obviously mentally and emotionally, because studies have shown what we're supposed to be around, like from the dawn of time. This has not changed. So why is it all of a sudden, oh, right, now we're supposed to stay single and only use women for sexual gratification?
Yep.
That's not how we have come hundreds of thousands of years. We have been monogamous.
No, I agree, and I think that's where the Red Pill movement goes wrong. Is that just that it's finishing the story, and funnily enough, that's what happened to me. I did engage in monogamous relationships throughout the journey, but I was definitely influenced by Red Pill ideology, and for quite a bit of the time since 2013 when I sorted myself out, for quite a bit of that time, more than half, I was single, playing the field, and I hadn't squared away the last part of the story, where for a lot of the time I would have casual relationships that would go on for a few months. And I didn't really know what to do because I was influenced by Red Pill, and perhaps a monogamous relationship is a bad thing. Didn't really know what I wanted long term, so I wasn't being honest with myself. And then after a couple of months, the lady that I'd be seeing would most of the time want a relationship, and I just didn't know what to do. So I just said, "Oh, I don't want to know you anymore," and that would be that. And I definitely caused a lot of emotional hurt. And this went on for quite a while, and I remember, I think in 2019, I just said to myself, this has kind of got to stop really, and work out what it is I want, and just present that to the world in terms of the kind of end game, as it were. And I just sat myself down and tackled the big questions. What are my views on marriage, on children, on long-term monogamous relationships? And I had a good reflection point for a few weeks. Put the phone down, didn't look for answers there. And settled on the fact that, okay, well, I don't have a problem with getting married. It doesn't really do much for me, but I have no problem with that. Children, yes, definitely. Actually, that's something that's definitely coming to me now in my early 30s. What else is important to me? Monogamous relationship, I think that's good. I would want a prenup or a financial agreement as well, because I have done well for myself in my single life, and that's just something that I would want as well. Unfortunately, many of my male friends who are much older, most of them have divorced, and there's just all kinds of stories. So I thought in another form of honesty to myself and others, that's something that I would want. And once I'd settled on these ideas, I then took those out into the world, and then it wasn't that long later before I met my fiancée. And so that for me is that the missing part of the Red Pill is it is adversarial towards women, and I think a lot of those men are scared of commitment, and I really disagree with. There's so much wording in there about when you are several months into the casual relationship, they like warning you. It's like she's going to want a relationship. Where this is going. She's going to want a relationship. Like, oh Christ, oh bloody hell, we don't really want that. Oh, what do we do to get around this or get out of it? But why not? Like it's no bad thing. Like my life is a lot better with my fiancée than it was single. I still had a great time single, and that's great. But a long-term relationship for me is what I promote, for myself and for my clients. And I think it is an amazing thing. And for myself, I come from a very good, solid, together family unit. And that was complete opposite to the teachings of the Red Pill movement. And I was kind of stuck in the middle for years of that. And as you said, our history as humans, for the majority, has been, the family unit, people having children, and that's the way it goes. And I mean, we've potentially got loads of other topics to talk about. We've got a massive population crisis in the decline. I remember 20 years ago it was we might overpopulate the planet. Now it's literally the opposite. It's just frightening, and there's so much promoting yourself and independence and being your own person, and very much me, and I was very much wired into that and being quite selfish. I think we're encouraged to be so for men and women, and put your career first and put this first and so on, and just the concept of helping others out, or giving, or doing something that's not really great for you but's fantastic for your partner. Like that mindset, I think, is just long gone. It's just not there anymore.
Totally gone. And now, especially with women in relationships, women are told that they can have it all. And this is something that I really, really don't believe that we can. You can't be a mother and work a full-time job straight away, because what happens to the child? We have now, ever since the boomer age, there have been more and more women that have been going back into the workplace, and there have been more and more health issues with children since then. So, and the more mental issues that have been coming, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And now we have this new Gen Alpha that has millennial parents, and the millennial or Gen Z parents are just creating these, I'm sorry, monsters of children because they're not actually engaging with their children.
No.
That's the whole point of a mother, especially within the first 3 years, is to engage and form that child and let that child become aware of their surroundings, know that they have a place of safety, compassion, and trust. So that is the main things, and they learn that from day zero. A lot of people think, oh, they're just a baby, they're not going to remember. They know everything. Like they are little human sponges that are absorbing the entire world around them. So, we do need to make sure that mothers are especially protected in a relationship whenever they're developing their child through that process. It goes from before that, whenever you're starting to want to get pregnant, you actually want the woman to be in such a calm, safe environment. Like you'll hear so many women say, okay, we're going to try and get pregnant, and it takes them forever to get pregnant. They'll even start courses of IVF and it doesn't work, and then they'll say, right, we're taking a break, and whenever they have a break, oh, there you go, pregnant.
Yeah.
It goes to show just how much the stress of wanting something that badly will actually have an effect on you. Whereas if you let things just be the way they're supposed to be, it's an alien concept.
Yeah, it is, and with the parenting thing, I do agree with you. I mean, it's funny. A lot of my friends don't have children. The ones that do, they're just having one, and that's it. And it's all just too much, too tired, too late as well, like late 30s, early 40s. Some of my friends are very good parents, and they do put the time in. And I think, like the decades gone past, I think, said child will be absolutely fine. I do know, maybe not really friends, but people I know, where again it's those two individuals are extremely independent, putting themselves first, career first, have a child, I don't know why, and then it's kind of like the elephant in the room, the baby in the middle, and they're both looking at one another going, well, I'm going back to work, and well, I'm going back to work, I'm doing me, and unfortunately, said child gets neglected a bit, not to the need of social services, but just like you say, that kind of attention that is needed is not forthcoming. And I think, as you said also about the cost of living crisis, I think for whatever reason back in the day, men on probably not a great salary, for the vast majority could support a wife and baby, or two babies or three babies, and it would be hard, but they could. Now I think in a lot of cases it's just not possible. The salaries are what they are, and as you said, the cost of living crisis is really, even before then, it is unusual for one parent to just pack it in completely. It is more of a very luxurious position to be in. But yeah, I think on the flip side as well, I feel as we've got a lot softer, I think. And when I was chatting to my mum and dad about it with their grandparents, they would have had I don't know. They were part of a family unit in the 1920s, 1930s of 4, 5, 6, and therefore their parents made that decision to have those amount of children. But the quality of life was crap compared to what it is now, and financially, I don't know how they did it. If they were thinking like we are now, they'd never have done that. And they just about made it possible. You know, they relied on friends and family. They all lived on the same street. I just think people were harder. I just think they were just tougher, more resilient, and just that was their way. Now, I was reading, I tried to stay off BBC, but I did actually indulge, and they were interviewing some young women in China, and they want to have a baby, but they just can't because life's too stressful, too hard. I'm 31, not earning enough money, neither did my partner, so it's all just too much, so I'm not going to. I think our grandparents, if they were in that situation, would have had like 8 kids. I'd just done it. It was just different times, and I think we are, just playing devil's advocate with both views here. Like, it's harder, cost of living crisis. Oh, there's all these problems. We've both got to work and all this. Like, I don't know how our grandparents did it. They had less money than we did. They had more stresses because of that. They lived in a 2 up, 2 down in a terraced house in some factory town in England, and they still did it, and they did a good job as well.
I totally agree with you. When I'm thinking of it, and whenever we're trying to understand, we don't know how they did it. Life didn't have as many entitlements as it does now. Like, so many people feel entitled to, I want to travel, I want to have the best stuff, I want to live in a nice area. Like, because our views are so warped for what we want to have in life, like, for crying out loud, you've got people that earn next to nothing walking around with Louis Vuitton bags, for crying out loud. Like, it doesn't make sense. Is that Louis Vuitton bag really worth, the symbolism of what it is? Whenever I see a Louis Vuitton bag now, I'm just like, oh, you're one of those. You're so interested in, the spice of life, the variety that we have, that you would rather have that instead of having a family, instead of having a partner. And that's what I see. It's not even just the fact that we don't know how they did it. Maybe it is because, like, our values were so much more significant back then. Value back then was family. Value now is material possession.
Yeah, and yourself.
That's it.
Yeah.
We're only thinking of ourselves. And,
yes.
my partner has very strong views about ever wanting to have kids. And, I, of course, have had incidences and can't have any. So I would love to have children. And whenever I've said things to my partner, I've said, what about the idea of fostering? And for me, that is going to be my ultimate goal, is to foster as many children as possible. Because to give a child that one tiny glimpse of safety and trust and love and compassion, education, all of those things, just show them just a snapshot for however long it is. They could be with you for a week to 10 years. Doesn't matter. If there's a single chance that I could give a child that small amount of something and it does something for them in the long run, I'm done. That's me. I'm good. Okay. That's my life. I'm happy.
Fantastic.
It's a sad thing that I can't contribute to it, but I am glad that, I want to explore other options.
To give experiences to others, I think is fantastic. And if you can help out in that way, whatever you can, then that's great. And probably unusual in a good way, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's crazy just how few people are actually willing to do the fostering experience. I only know 2 people that have done it. And that, like, whenever you know so many people in your life, to only know 2 people that are willing to foster children, that doesn't it doesn't look so good. And like, although I was never put into the system, if people had seen or had actually taken things seriously whenever I was a kid, me and my siblings would have actually been put into the system. So, and of course I hear so many horror stories of people taking advantage of it, because apparently you get some sort of government grants and things like that if you do foster children, which unfortunately that means that there are bad people willing to do it. obviously that's something that's a bit heartbreaking, to say the least. But, you know, if there is a chance that, you know, one person can change something, you know, I would love to be able to help as many people as possible. And it wouldn't even just be working with children that I would want to help them. Obviously, you also have to acknowledge the fact that they are not your kids. And, you know, you also have to be involved with the families as well. So, you know, I would actually want to work with the families as best I possibly could, so that those particular families, you know, can actually live a better way of life. And if I use my psychology degree in that way, hey, that's just an added bonus. Like if I can help a mother actually see that, you know, the stresses of her life can be managed, then that's all you need. I know that an awful lot of, like, obviously we're talking about the Red Pill podcasts. One person in particular that really rubs me up the wrong way, Just Pearl Things.
Just Pearl Things.
Oh,
Okay,
you don't
yeah.
know her? Okay, good. I don't know how she's been granted this title, but she's been compared to the female version of Andrew Tate.
Okay, Just Pearl Things. I think I saw
Pearl Davis.
a little bit of a short of her. She's got a massive following, is that correct?
She has got a big following, and I don't
Yeah.
understand how, because her message is exceptionally harmful, not just to women, but also to men. Like, she believes that men don't need to... She believes that men don't need to be monogamous, and that they can cheat on their wives as much as they can.
Okay.
She believes in a family unit, but she believes that men can cheat
Okay,
because that's just the
Right.
way they are.
okay.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And I genuinely can't tell if she is just a marketing genius this is just her way of making money, or if she is actually that warped.
Yeah.
And like you can't understand people's authenticity anymore,
No.
because whenever she's saying things that women don't need to be involved in society, women don't need to exist in society, she's a woman. Why is she even talking then?
Yeah, I'll just self-delete my channel.
Yeah, like, what are you contributing to society if you believe that women's only job is to procreate? She even has said that women are more likely to kill children.
Jesus.
Yeah. Take women all out of the workforce. Okay, so men are going to become nurses then?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just yeah, not how our society works anymore.
It's not. And when you have a woman who is going to champion the red pill ideology, I feel like she's just being bought in this way, because there is nothing good about what she's actually saying, and the harm that she would be causing more men. Do you honestly think a woman is going to want to stick around with a man who constantly cheats on her, constantly disrespects her? Doesn't matter just how often, she's supplied with a good life. It doesn't matter. Like if a woman or a man gets disrespected, if they feel like they're disrespected, they will leave, or they'll cheat. I mean, I've been very open and honest about my indiscretions.
Yes.
I've been attacked massively by men and women for what I did.
Yep.
Look, I do speak very open and honestly and very candidly about my experience, and I'm not condoning my experiences. I'm not condoning my actions at all. But also, like I've said before, for every action, there's a reaction, and for every reaction, there's a reason. So there's an awful lot of people that just want to absolutely, they will tear me a new one. I've been absolutely demolished. YouTube won't even allow certain people to comment on some of the shorts now. And it's not even that my channel's even that big, but I've got some pretty bad comments left in my videos, which, okay, that's absolutely fine. If a man wants to tell me that, everything I get, I deserve, and I'm talking about assault here, well, that says a lot more about you than it says about me.
True. But I mean, like, yeah, I think we talked about it on the last one. Like, I think you sharing that story, I mean, look, it makes good content. I think also makes you more relatable, more real, because I think everyone's just trying to present perfection.
There's no such thing as perfection.
No, there isn't. And I think, as you said, there's other reasons as to why, and I don't know. I mean, look, yes, it's happened. It's not uncommon, and you've explained, the stories and shared your experiences, which will definitely help people.
Because I don't want women to do what I did. I don't want them to do. I want them to just, if I had understood the reasons why back then, why I would have done the things that I did, then I would have definitely approached the situation so much more differently. Maybe I would have left. Maybe I would have actually started the therapy an awful lot sooner. But the downside is that now my ex-husband thinks that, oh well, she cheated, so she's a bad person. I don't know if he's actually going to do the inner work to actually go, well, why did she cheat? Like you said as well yourself that you had been cheated on with the Russian girl, which, look, I understand your insecurities around a Russian woman. They're a different breed. They are a different breed. Their looks are something else. They have a different kind of attitude. Like, they're very strong women. Very, very strong. Do you think maybe you became a self-fulfilling prophecy with her, maybe?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think, look, I mean, she did what she did. I view it as almost two separate islands, me and her, with that. I agree, I do feel it was my behaviours and my way that invited that and brought that on. I was needy, I was too available, constantly checking in. And I also think I came on to her books at around a time that she didn't have much going on. I was available, I was there, I was the next best thing. Does what she did make all women like that? No. Is it in all women's nature? No. I don't, as I said in my video about it, I don't blame her at all for it. Like, she did what she did. I think, it's definitely self-fulfilling prophecy from myself, and also a combination of that and her nature. And when it happened, I was upset for a few hours, and then in the days ahead, the only narrative in my head was I need to get better, and I need to sort myself out and focus on myself. Apart from those few hours after she told me, I was never angry at her or wanting to get back or strike back at women in some way at all. It was just, I need to get better. I was more concerned about how I felt about it, about feeling needy and insecure. Those are the things I really hated the most, and having the lack of options and not really going to where I want. And my future efforts were purely on trying to sort myself out. I have no idea what she did after that. I dropped her off at the train station, and that was like 11 years ago. So no idea. Don't really think about it, to be honest. Just focusing on myself to improve myself, and then obviously have a good time since then. So.
See, that's fantastic, because you actually went inward to try and understand certain things about yourself. And the thing that makes me think even more about the situation that is so different in my case. You didn't want to get revenge. You didn't feel like, you didn't have any bad feelings towards her. My ex-husband was after me whenever it happened. He wanted to take absolutely everything. He wanted to make sure that, everything that I had contributed, I was not getting anything. He even gave away my dog. Like, that's, he was making sure that, what the pain he was feeling was the same as the pain that I was feeling. The only thing is, I think it was just like more towards himself, because this is a man that had even confessed that he had fallen out of love with me. So it had nothing to do with his actual bad feelings of me cheating on him. It was just the fact that, someone did something that he didn't like. And it just so happened to be me.
I've seen bad breakups, and it's very human to be in a rage and lash out or to feel bad about it. But I always try and look at the role models for me as men, and for me a masculine man isn't one that shouts or screams or throws throws things around. It's just that quiet, assertive, masculinity, leadership, and that kind of inner strength that I most admire. And the most masculine men I've seen who've had bad things happen to them and just not react in that kind of way. There's definitely a few that come to mind. I remember my old head teacher at high school. He never shouted or raised his voice once in 5 years. He was extremely well dressed, and he just had these just very good, consistent, concerted behaviours, and nobody messed with him. And he didn't shout, didn't scream, didn't throw things. He just behaved in a very calm, thoughtful fashion. And I just really like that. And when it came to expelling someone, it was just done, no problem. And I really like that. And some bad stuff happened at school, and kids did crazy, stupid things, and he could have taken it in a very bad way. This is going to affect me in Ofsted. This is going to affect reviews. This is going to affect my funding. I'm sure he had all those pressures, but it never came out. And I just things. It was Marcus Aurelius said, wasn't it? Events in life are just events. It's how you react to them that's your view on it. It just is, and how you interpret that is kind of down to you, and that says what you're about as a person. So
100%. I mean, okay, you did say you've got a few. Who else, like celebrity-wise, what kind of men do you look at and admire? Just because my partner has quite a few that he admires and he follows, and he's definitely a cocktail of all of them.
Yes, celebrities. It's hard to. I think I mean with celebrities, you never know. They've also got some crazy parts of them that perhaps we don't see. I think a few for me in terms of elements of them. Ayrton Senna, the Formula One racing driver in the late 80s and 90s, I thought he was very good. His passion
amazing.
to his sport, and I really liked him. Quite balanced from what was presented. Extremely determined, and it might sound a bit silly, but it certainly turned my eye a bit the other way. Is the most recent documentary on David Beckham, and reading on about him further from that, just elements of that as well, where his dedication to his sport, that he has generally consistently been a family man and charitable. I think there's just elements of that I do really like, but I draw more from friends and people that I know, I think, because I know them in a complete fashion.
Well, yeah, and I said this, it was in one of the last episodes. My partner really made me have that penny drop moment. You are who you hang around with, and whoever it is that you surround yourself with, you take on the same energy as them. So it's one of those things that when I look at who I listen to, like, I'm not listening to the common like pop people like Taylor Swift, Ariana, like anyone who follows the pop culture celebrities. If you wonder why your life is in a spiral, it's because you're listening to them. If you're wondering why men are bad, or if you're wondering why all of these things are bad for you, you're surrounding yourself with negative people and gossip, it's because you're listening to those particular people as well. My partner absolutely loves listening to Mimosi. Is it Mimosi? And Andy Frisella.
Okay.
These are guys that they're entrepreneurs and podcasters, and he listens to them nonstop, and they're all about mental toughness, entrepreneurship. He loves listening to Jordan P. Peterson as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's a cocktail of all of those people who he's listening to, with a slight, I don't know how this is going to come across, but slight amount of Andrew Tate.
Okay, interesting.
He just likes his I don't care attitude. But he doesn't agree with the lifestyle, which is good.
Yeah.
It means I'm safe.
Yeah, take the bits you don't want. No, that's good. No, that's fine.
I think, for people who are trying to get into certain types of relationships, I think that's a really good indicator to understand the type of person that you're in the presence of. Like, who do they listen to? What do they watch? It's not even just about what they do in their spare time. Obviously, taking care of your health is a major part of something, because if someone's going to the gym to, look after their body, And I'm talking about just looking after the body, not talking about looks, because there's a fine line between those two. It can either be the fact that they're looking after their health, or they have body dysmorphia. And with body dysmorphia can also be other hidden underground issues.
Yes.
So, all of these tiny little aspects are big things that, if you're looking for a long-term partner, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very much what you see in front of you, I think, and it is over time, just looking at the behaviours and what they're about. I mean, if someone's reading a book that you don't agree with, or they say they're really into certain things, I wouldn't worry too much about that, especially in the early phases of dating. And again, culturally we're very quick to dismiss, get rid of. Sometimes as a form of protection measure for our own egos, but like if they're interested in a celebrity or some view that you don't really like, you have to spend time with people. And I think that's the whole purpose of the dating process is weeks or months even, just to really see, and something that may worry you in the initial might actually turn out not to be the case at all. People change their mind, or they're reading it because they disagree with it, or they're just naturally curious. I think I wouldn't judge people too much on initially what they say or what you find out about them. I think it's just very much how they are with you, and that does take time.
Oh, definitely. I mean, if your values align, then that's absolutely fine. My partner and I, we did not have the same values when we first got together.
Okay.
And I think I told you this last time when we were talking. I said that any good man can turn any feminist woman.
Okay.
I 100% believe this, because I used to be a very particular way when I first met my partner. And over time, because of his patience and his attitude and just the way that he is with so many people, somehow I started magnetizing towards his way of thinking.
Okay.
And starting to understand that, all of those things that I was led to believe was actually wrong. Mm-hmm. So I think this is what I mean whenever like a good man in control of certain situations can create a fantastic life for a family. Because let's face it, if we're using analogies, the man always drives and the woman's always in the passenger seat. The man's better at driving, but she's better at directions. It's the yin and the yang. Because a man's never going to ask for directions because his ego gets in the way. A woman will actually start going, right, okay, we're going to ask. I will do the asking. I will tell you where we go. And together we get to a destination.
Yes.
That's how it's supposed to be. It's with whenever we're pushing people away, we're not going to get anywhere.
No.
And as a society, we're definitely becoming more and more divided. We're definitely seeing so much more chaos that's being created especially between the two genders. So now, why don't we start reevaluating our thinking and start understanding we have to be together, otherwise we're not going to move anywhere.
Yes. Yeah, and I don't think there's enough narrative on that at all, and it is a bit of a shame, but yeah.
We're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time, David. I hope that, people hear this and they take some words of advice. Just plug a few things for me here. Just let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, sure. So davidthorpedating.com is my website, so there you can find out more about me and the services I offer coaching men. And then YouTube channel David Thorpe Dating, which will be tagged here, and also I'll be sharing the podcast on my channel and tagging your channel, Olivia, as well. And yeah, that's it. And I've really enjoyed it. I think it's been great. I think we've got some really good views that we've explored, and I've really enjoyed talking with you and doing this podcast. And we do live in challenging times, and hopefully through this podcast we've provided some clarity on that.
I hope so too. This is the whole point of my podcast, is to start getting people to think about things a little bit differently. So yeah, I mean, having a dyslexic head really works in certain scenarios. David, thank you so much for your time, and yeah, hopefully we'll do this again. Definitely.
Yes, I'd like that.
Thank you so much, and good luck with the wedding.
Thank you very much, Olivia. Yeah, we'll speak soon.
Guys, I really hope that you enjoyed this episode. I know I definitely did. If you took anything from David and learned something from myself as well, then please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below. Tell me whatever you want. It's not going to affect me. I'm already traumatized. I really want to keep this channel going, and the more likes and subscribes that we get, the more people I can have on the show, just like David. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for tuning in for this episode of Trauma Pond HQ, and I will see you next time for another episode. Mwah.